public until possibly May 4th, 2020. Members of the public are invited to view this open meeting electronically by accessing the meeting stream on the township website. While in-person participation is not feasible at this time, members of the public are invited to submit written comments to Ashley Sage, clerk at asage@northdumfries.ca, which will be provided to the mayor and council prior to the meeting and will form part of the public records. I call the meeting to order. And can I have approval of the agenda, please? And I will, moved by Councillor Osner, seconded by Councillor Gillespie.
So that council adopt the April
And
4th.
you want a roll call first. I apologize for doing roll call first. So Councillor Rowland? Councillor Gillespie?
Here.
Councillor McCreary?
Here.
Councillor Oster?
I'm here.
And we also have staff members, Mark Schmuck, Shelley Stedall, Ashley Sage, Andrew McNeely, and Robert Shantz. So now approval of the agenda, as stated, I forget who I said. Did I say Derek and Pam?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, do you want to do the roll call?
Sure. So I'll read. So it was that council adopt the April 14th, 2020 council agenda as presented with the following addendums. 1, add item 8.1.4A, report CLK 10-2020, appointments to the board of directors and the appointments of auditors for Energy Plus Incorporated. 2, add item 10.1, correspondence received from the Region of Waterloo Public Health and Emergency Services requesting permission from the township authorizing access for lands for the purposes of mosquito larval surveillance, and that council adopt the amended agenda format for the scheduled meeting date and time that includes the combined committee of the whole and regular council agenda format as outlined in section 7.6 of the procedural bylaw number 3130-20. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Osner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
All right, and the motion is carried.
Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Now, Ashley, I don't have any motions for these next items, which is the disclosure, okay, the public meetings, committee adjustment, presentations, delegations, those are all blank?
Yep.
Is that correct?
There's no items, that's correct.
Right. So moving right into the committee of the whole, and the first one is 8.11, finance function area. And Ms. Stedall, are you speaking on any of that, or are we just bringing the motion forward? Okay,
Yes.
so I have mover and seconder of 8.1.1 is Councillor Osner and Councillor McCreary. Are there any comments or questions about the tax bylaw? Seeing none, do you want to do the roll call, please?
Certainly. So it's moved by Councillor Osner and seconded by Councillor McCreary that the committee of the whole recommend the following item be approved as presented as outlined in the staff report listed in the finance function area. 8.1.1A, report number FIN 07-2020 tax rate bylaw. That report FIN 07-2020, the 2020 tax rate bylaw be received, and further that council adopt the 2020 tax rates bylaw, which includes the Township of North Dumfries, municipal tax, general and special area levy, Region of Waterloo tax rates, and the Province of Ontario School Board tax rates. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rolliman?
Yes.
Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
Okay, the matter has been carried.
Thank you. Next, we're on to 8.1.2, which is Development Services Functions Area. Committee of the whole recommending the items. Pre-servicing agreement. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I have it moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rolliman.
That the committee of the whole recommend the following item be approved as presented as outlined in the staff report listed in the Development Services Function Area. 8.1.2A, report number PD 08-2020 pre-servicing agreement earthworks. that report number PD 08-2020 be received, and that the pre-servicing agreement to accommodate earthworks affecting lands owned by 2081788 Ontario Corporation, 839658 Ontario Incorporated, 828543 Ontario Incorporated, and Jomar Cattle Feeding Incorporated, and the Township of North Dumfries be approved, subject to any minor revisions as required by the Township Solicitor and/or the Chief Administrative Officer. And that bylaw number 3157-20 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a pre-servicing agreement, earthworks, between 2081788 Ontario Corporation and the Township of North Dumfries be enacted. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and the motion is carried.
Can someone reach out to the Air News and see if because they're not getting on? Thank you. Next, we have 8.1.3. Now, is any of these want to be discussed or pulled, or do we pass them in complete?
So, Mayor Foxton, we did get some public submissions for item A and item F. So those two items will be removed from the consent agenda.
A and F?
A and F, yes.
Okay.
Pam has her hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Pam.
I have a question on C, the bridge thing.
C, okay. Anybody else? So we're taking out A, F, and C. Nothing else? All right, do we want to pass all the others, which is B, D, E, G, H. Hang on, I gotta flip another page.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to call it for the vote for those?
Sure. That motion is moved by Councillor Ossner and seconded by Councillor McCreary, that the Committee of the Whole recommend the following items be approved as presented, as outlined in the staff reports listed in the Community Services function area. So with the chair's permission, as presented, it would be items B, item D, item E, item G, and item H. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, the motion has been carried.
Thank
So
you.
the,
So we'll go back to 8.1.3A, which is the construction of the Miller Paving Limited. Did you have a comment on that, Ashley?
So we received correspondence from Irene with the Air News regarding that item. So she has submitted the following question. So she's asking, is it correct that municipal governments are only proceeding with critical construction projects?
Theo McNeely, would you like to respond? Or would you like to hand it to another staff?
He's on mute.
Yeah. He's
Thank
on
you,
mute.
Madam Mayor. Yes. So I previously circulated this to members of council earlier this afternoon. The township operating as a government is deemed an essential service as per Ontario Regulation 82-20, which is the listing of essential services during the COVID-19 pandemic event. And that was further amended by Regulation 119-20. As per Regulation 82-20, in subsection 5, it states nothing in this order, being the regulation, precludes operations or delivery of services by the following in Ontario, regardless of whether or not they are listed in Schedule 2, which was an appendices to the original order. And it lists government. And after that, it lists any person or publicly funded agency or organization that delivers or supports government operations and services, including operations and services to the healthcare. So it is within the realm of the municipality to deal with business functions as part of our operations. Now, if the government's order, as it relates to continued social distancing and spatial separation of employees, we will be communicating with all contractors, not only with this one contract, but others that have been awarded, that they must have the proper protection and safety gear and awareness about the spatial separation. And this is a practice that's been uniformly adopted by the region and the 7 area municipalities. And we will be informing any contractor doing work on our behalf during the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure that their staff and forces or subcontractors are conversant and familiar with the regulations associated with spatial separation. But the intent of doing
Thank you,
work.
CEO McNeely. Any other questions or comments? All right, then can we, moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Osner, can we go ahead with 8.1.3.a?
Perfect. Yes. So that report number PW 02-2020 be received, and that council approve the award of contract ND-RFT-02-2020 to MSO Construction, a division of Miller Paving Limited, in the amount of $57,087.36 after HST rebate. And that council approve the additional allocation of funds not to exceed $3,000 after HST rebate for paving markings, line painting. And that staff be authorized to retain an external professional engineer and inspection firm to conduct inspections verification services for micro sealant projects at a cost not to exceed $8,000 after HST rebates. And that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute any necessary documents to facilitate the completion of this project in whole or in part. So Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, the motion's been carried.
Thank you. And next we have up is the report in regards to, I believe it's the,
Item C.
yeah, which is the bridge one?
Yeah, report PW-05-2020. Yeah,
Yes.
Yep.
Engineering management, yeah, the bridge in culvert. Councillor Gillespie, you want to speak on this one?
Yes, I just had a question about how comparable do we think that the 2 reports will be with the K-Smart one from the time before? It was twice the amount that this particular one is costing. So I that was just a question I had. So I don't know if anyone can answer that.
I can answer that. I believe they're going to be very comparable. All the bid submissions, they're all the companies that submitted, they're all very qualified and they've done this before for us, with the exception of the one we're asking to be awarded now. They're all very experienced. Why this group come in at $3,000, that was their decision. But we supply them with the one previous 2 years ago. So they have all the documentation, all the information they have, and they'll check and make sure that the bridges and culverts haven't degraded any further from 2 years ago and create an action plan for us going forward.
If I can also pipe in here, and I've spoken about this at the region too, when this happens. I know of some contractors that if they've got a lot of work, they want to show they're interested in the bid, but they want to bid really, really high because they really don't have the staff to do it. So they bid really, really high, showing interest, but not a real desire to do it. Okay, so Ashley, any other questions? CEO McNeely.
Madam Mayor, just to complement what Mr. Smuck has previously identified, 2 things that council should also be aware of. The OSIM document, in terms of what the consultant of record is to look for, is on a prescribed sheet or series of sheets in terms of the information that has to be populated. So it's standardized. The other thing is the consultant that's been selected is currently been retained and is in town already. They're associated with the reconstruction design for the Butte Street project. So perhaps some of their savings could be realized because they're already in the village doing work on an unrelated but parallel project.
Thank you, CEO McNeely. Any other questions? Okay, Ms. Sage, if you'd like to carry on. And this is passed by Councillor Willimans and seconded by Councillor Gillespie.
Yes, that council received PW report number 05-2020, and that council approved the award of ND-RFP-02-2020 to Ambashi Engineering and Management Incorporated to complete the 2020 OSIM Bridge and Culvert inspection in the amount of $3,052.80 after HST rebate, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute any necessary documents to finalize the award of consulting services between Ambashi Engineering and Management Incorporated and the township to complete this project. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes, please.
Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
All right, the motion's been carried.
Okay, 8.1.3, number F, is in regards to the playground equipment at Roseville Community Center. Would anyone like to speak on this?
Yes, so we received written correspondence from Irene at the Air News on this. So her question for this item is the Roseville Playground project recommended to proceed?
So, Madam Mayor, if I may, it is the staff recommendation as outlined in the circulated report that the contract to design, supply, and install the play structure for the Roseville Playground be awarded to Play Power LT Canada Inc. So if council were to today award the contract, the selected vendor would then finalize contract details with township staff and commence then forward with the design and manufacturing of the play structure. Timeline for installation is unknown, as obviously there may be some lead time in terms of actually manufacturing the various components associated with the proposed play structure.
Thank you, CEO McNeely. Any other questions? Seeing none, Ms. Sage, would you please read the motion? And it's moved by Councillor Rolleman, seconded by Councillor Gillespie.
That report number REC 02-2020 be received, and that council approve the award of contract ND-RFP-05-2020 for the supply, design, and install of a playground at Roseville Community Center to Play Power LT Canada Incorporated in the amount of $42,331.25 after tax credit, ITC, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute any necessary documents to facilitate the completion of this project. So Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
The motion's been carried.
Thank you. Next is 8.1.4. Would anyone like either one of those pulled out for discussion, or would you like to pass both the auditors selected by Energy Plus and also the board? Seeing none, we will take it as a whole. It's moved by Councillor Rolleman, seconded by Councillor Gillespie. And Ms. Sage?
Yes. That the committee of the whole recommend the following item be approved as presented, as outlined in the staff report listed in the Governance and Protective Services function area. 8.1.4A, report CLK-10-2020, appointment to the Board of Directors and the appointment of auditors for Energy Plus Incorporated. That report CLK-10-2020 be received, and that council approve the nominations for appointments to the Board of Directors, Cambridge and North Dumfries Energy Plus Incorporated as follows. 1, independent directors, Lynn Wooler, Martin Champ, Anita Davis. 2, designated directors, Catherine McGarry, Susan Foxon, and Ian Miles, and that council waive the limitation of term for Martin Champ to provide for a 1-year extension, and that council approve the appointment of KPMG as the auditors for Energy Plus Incorporated for 2020. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
All right, the motion's been carried.
Okay, so we're on 9.1. Adoption of the committee of the whole resolutions. Would anybody like them, are we gonna do them individually, Ashley, or do you want to do them as a whole?
We can do them as presented, yes. I can do it as presented.
Individually, you mean?
No, we'll do all of
As
them as one. Yes, they're all as one.
Does anyone want any of those items pulled? 9.2.1 to 9.2.5?
Yes, it'll be all of the committee of the whole recommendations from today's committee of the whole meeting.
Okay, so it's got moved by Councillor Rowland, seconded by Councillor Gillespie. Go ahead, Ashley.
That council adopt the recommendations as adopted and presented by committee of the whole dated April 14th, 2020. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
All right, the motion's been carried.
So we're now on 10.1, is that correct, Ms. Sage?
We are at 9.2, adoption of the minutes.
Okay, adoption of the minutes then. Okay, so we're doing separately. And again, this is moved by Councillor Ossner and seconded by Councillor McCreary, and those are the minutes.
That council approved the following minutes, and with the chair's permission as presented in the agenda top sheet. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
and the motion's been carried.
And next we have 10.1, which is the larvicide. Permission for public health to do the larvicide, mosquito larval surveillance. Ms. Sage, any comments, questions? This is done annually, normally. Councilor McCreary, nothing? Oh, okay. Ms. Sage, go ahead.
Okay.
10.1.
Yes, so moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Ossner that the correspondence received from the Region of Waterloo Public Health and Emergency Services requesting a letter of permission from the township authorizing access lands for the purposes of mosquito larval surveillance be received, and that council authorized staff to issue the enclosed letter of permission to the Region of Waterloo Public Health and Emergency Services on behalf of the township, authorizing access for lands for the purposes of mosquito larval surveillance and, if indicated, larval control measures. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary.
I had a question. Am I still able to ask the question?
Yes, go ahead.
Vote, yep.
I was just wondering, it was mentioning that besides spraying catch basins, it would also spray ponds and ditches around the township. I just wonder what ponds do they spray? Do they spray like Jedburgh and Watson's Pond, or where are they spraying?
Does anybody want to handle that? CEO McNeely or Mr. Schmuck?
So Madam Mayor, if I may, in the past few years, they have not required or been demonstrated need to spray land owned by the township. They have been focusing exclusively on the catch basins. The region, public health throughout the region, installs catchment containers. And if they find through the catchment and the testing of mosquitoes that there is a presence of West Nile, then they focus in those immediate areas with additional follow-up program. But it is not meant for private land. It is meant for publicly owned lands like our parks or where our facilities are, or our road network only.
Okay, so I was just wondering, like an area between, like
Go
the
ahead.
area where you're walking towards Jedburgh Pond, there's that trail. I forget what that trail is called. Campbell Trail? Is that Campbell Trail?
No.
Would that trail, there's water around there, would that be sprayed? Isn't that township property?
So
Some-
where the trail goes through the wood lot, between Centennial Park and Main Street, where it empties
Right,
out by
there.
Jed. That is not township property. Those are actually lands that are owned by the Grand River Conservation Authority.
Oh,
So
okay.
the resolution that's in front of council today would not deal with that portion of a trail system because it's lands owned by the Conservation Authority. They would have to be approached by Region Public Health to allow access and permission to do any larvicidal treatment on their lands.
Okay, and Jedburgh Pond and Watson's Pond itself are not sprayed then? They're not,
Madam Mayor, that's correct. They're not going out in boats and spraying out onto the water body. We do not own Jedburgh Basin. That is actually privately held. We are the owner of Watson Pond, but they have not required the need to do that. Have to appreciate it has to be standing water. And there's always just enough of a breeze across the open water of Watson Pond or open bodies similar, where it breaks the seal of the larva that sort of is just cupped underneath the water layer at the surface. And that wave action, although subtle, is just enough to break that seal. And we have not had in the past issues of larvae populating in the pond.
okay. Oh, thank you, CEO McNeely.
Carry on, please.
Okay, Councillor McCreary, how do you vote?
Yes,
And Councillor Gillespie, how do you vote?
Yes.
So that motion's been carried.
Thank you. Next is correspondence. There's quite a few of these I'd like to fly by people as to whether we want to get involved in it. The first one on the signage, CEO McNeely, 12.1.1, in regards to advertisement, does that affect our 401 sign? Councillor Gillespie.
Yes, I would like to speak on that because that is a real problem for farm markets. Like they're pretty much doubling the rate, and already there's $600 to put up. So I think we should agree with the County of Haliburton and put in a protest on this. It's an American company that is running these sign things right now, and it is putting real financial hardship on farm markets in particular, like maple syrup production area, like bushes and stuff like that. So it's been a real concern in the farm market.
So would
Area.
you like to move a motion, Councillor Gillespie, stating that you would like this council to back the motion, the resolution provided by the Haliburton regarding tourism-oriented destinations?
Yes, I would.
Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Rollman will second that. And so on direction to staff that we will bring forth a meeting and distribute it as we have in the past. Is that okay, Ms. Sage?
Yes, who would you like it distributed to?
You would distribute it to all municipalities similar to what Haliburton did.
Okay. Okay.
So we would copy their whereas, wherefore, and do it on behalf of North Dumfries and distribute it likewise.
Yeah, I'll note that, yes, that council's endorsing the resolution that was sent from the County of
Do you
Haliburton.
want to call a vote on that?
So Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Councillor McCreary, how do you vote?
yes,
And Councillor Gillespie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Right, that motion's been carried.
Thank you. The other one was the wetland one. And I'm sorry, but the Minister of Natural Resources and Forests does not believe the water is threatened anywhere and that we can do anything we want and expanding into the wetlands. So if you read that over, maybe we can have that looked at again for our next meeting to decide whether, because it's quite detailed, and see if we want to back this as well. There was one in there about the day of litter on May 12th. And although I think it's a good year, I don't think it's a good year to do it this year. I think it's a good idea, but not for this year, for COVID-19. So if we can have you make a note of that for us to look at that next year, Miss H, if you can put that on your calendar, Miss Gillespie, Councilor Gillespie.
Yeah, isn't that pretty much the same as our Earth Day thing that we did last year? Like I would say it's pretty much the same. So I was kind of confused on why he would do another day on that.
It's a really good point. Maybe we could leave that one alone. Does anybody want to go ahead with it or just leave it? Councilor Bowman, what do you think?
It's fine.
You leave it? Okay. Councilor McCreary?
It's fine.
Councilor Osner?
That's fine. Yeah, leave it.
Okay, so the other one I had was time of usage. Grimsby, page 183. Let me get down to Grimsby. Did anybody else have any on these? Page is this.
Oh, I have a question.
I'm almost there, guys. Hang on. There was a lot of correspondence.
I had a question, Sue.
Go ahead.
On the one about the property taxes, 12.112. The town of Midland was talking about asking the feds to help lower property taxes for businesses.
That's my next one. That was page 189. Yep. Oh, no, 182 it says. Okay. Yes. Do you want to back that?
I personally think, municipalities should be asking the federal government to help us so that we can help businesses. A lot of businesses are not going to be paying their rents, not be paying their taxes. We're going to be in a situation where we won't be able to recover that money unless we get some sort of assistance to the township.
Do you know what I wondered, Councilor Bowman? You're absolutely, I don't disagree, but we as a municipality have to run the township still. What do we do if we don't get these taxes in? Because that's a large part of our thing. But what did you think of the scale before we get into the nitty gritty about that stuff? What about the scale?
Well, I don't know, that might be worked out, I guess, but something has to be done because we're gonna see revenues drop from the township point of view, and the federal government's gonna have to step in and directly fund the township coffers. Otherwise, we're gonna be short a lot of money.
But if we back this, we're going to be short even more money because it says 100% of properties that are taxes that are property that's assessed at $500,000.
Yeah, and then it says, ask the federal government to direct that fund to the township. That's my understanding of it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong.
Ms. Dettle, you're right. Ms. Dettle first and then Councilor Austin.
So there hasn't really been a lot of support on this item from the treasurers. The treasurers across the province are saying that they would rather, instead of waiving 100%, they would actually rather it be that we get some funding after we find out exactly what the end result is going to be. So a grant after the fact rather than waiving all of the taxes. Does that make sense?
How would you word? So you're saying a grant after the fact, but if it's after the fact, the people have already tried to pay or are gone in debt.
No, not a grant back to. So what would happen is we would just continue. So we haven't got to the point yet where we actually see what the result is going to be for a lot of it. We're kind of in the midst of things. And I think we'll have a better handle probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks as to where we're going to be and where a lot of businesses and individuals are. This is ahead of the game, and the treasurers are looking at it and saying they're not everybody is really on side with this at this point in time. We're more of a wait and see. We want to go a little bit farther down and find out exactly what our status is going to be, and if there's going to be any repercussions in the future, then we would be looking at some kind of a grant program back to the municipality.
Okay, so you're doing that. You're basically saying the same thing as this, but not to this severe degree, because you're asking the province to grant, the feds to grant us back money for the taxes. So you said you'll have something pulled together probably in 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, this kind of takes away, my understanding is this would take away our ability to control what we were doing, and we may then come underneath the federal government control for something. So I think we're better off to go with what we've got right now and then ask for something.
Okay, Councilor Oster's next and then Councilor McCreary.
The only thing, like I was I agree with Shelley that maybe we should wait a little bit before we do that. For example, I was reading about the city of Vancouver was saying the same thing, how they're going to go bankrupt because they're not getting the money in, and the federal government's already said no to them. So I think that once this starts to happen more, when, as Shelley said, as the treasurers all start to assess the situation, then if everybody starts giving the same common denominator and theme, then maybe things will change. But you know, Vancouver's already tried to rock the boat and threatened bankruptcy, and the feds said no.
Councilor McCreary.
I was just thinking that the scale of what Midland's proposing is absolutely huge. I think that as a very small rural township with limited source of revenue, just being our property taxes, we have to be very, very careful and how generous we get with any sort of benefit program that we roll out. I think the federal government and the provincial government is doing that job very well right now at the moment. So we need to just wait and see what happens. And as a municipality, we are not serving the public well at all if we are to put ourselves in a financial position where we can't continue on. So we have to be very careful in implementing anything like this. And I think I agree with Treasurer Siddall that we just have to wait and see what happens. Wait and see how much revenue we are able to generate. And some people, and many people, will still be able to pay their property taxes. I'm not saying that there aren't many people who are in dire financial straits, but many people will still pay their property taxes.
Councilor Austin.
And the other thing we have to keep in mind, that this is coming from the town of Midland. You're up in cottage country, and they're proposing zero taxes under 500,000. So is the connotations toward this that the locals, they don't want to pay taxes because they may be hit harder than what council may assume as the rich people that come up with the $1 million cottages? Because if you're under 500,000, a lot of the locals, you know, the housing is not that high. It's the cottages and the people that are up there retired that are over 500 to $1 million or $1 million plus. So I kind of wonder where this is coming from, and the way they've broken it down price wise.
Really good point, Councilor Austin. So I think if I hear everybody correctly, that, CEO McNeely, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, if I could just add to the discussion that's occurred, I would ask that council not deal with this matter at this point in time. And my reasons are multifold. One is we are looking at what the implications are under different scenarios in terms of increased expenditures, lost revenues, and how they offset. That is the subject of future reports to Township Council. The other is we still don't know what the full effects are on this on different sectors of the commercial hierarchical structure. Some areas aren't as influenced as others by COVID-19. And the final thing is they're going to the federal government. We are creatures of the province. And so funding typically is through the provincial government, not the federal government, for municipal programs. And my last comment focuses a little bit more on the federal programs that have been unveiled over the last 2 or 3 weeks. The low interest loans, the forgivable loans, the bridge financing opportunities. And we have not yet seen that trickle down yet to area businesses that have made application. So we don't even have a true understanding of how successful or on the mark some of those federal programs have been to support businesses. And I think as the treasurer has identified, we'll have a better understanding 2 or 3 weeks out from now as to whether or not those dollars are flowing to the businesses, whether they're making a meaningful difference to help local businesses meet their obligations, whether it be payroll or other overhead expenses, such as property taxes as being one cost center. with a better snapshot in time, we can then look at what those implications are and what opportunities then may need to be done locally or targeted resolutions to either the provincial or federal governments to make sure that those that are in need are addressed and identified and flagged for our provincial and or federal counterparts.
So that's, I was just going to recap that we're going to have a better financial picture in the next few weeks from Ms. Stedall. I believe it's April 27th. Is that correct? Yeah. And also, things are so fluid. I just got an email from Chair Redmond that the development charges, the phasing in thing has been changed and pushed out another 6 months. So we do not have to go with the different development charges. And there was another one in regards to planning too. CO McNeely, did you get a chance to follow up on that?
As it related to the development charges, that didn't really affect us because council actually adopted a bylaw that went into effect January 1. So we were already a little bit ahead. But on the Planning Act, as part of the emergency sitting of the legislature this afternoon, they've adopted legislation where the minister can impose revised timelines associated with the processing of Planning Act applications, minor variances, plans of subdivisions, rezonings. We have not seen the specific wording of the legislation and in terms of what this means, but it was to provide some recognition that it's difficult in the present time period to meet the normal timelines for Planning Act applications. And so we expect there to be some relaxation during the period of the emergency declaration.
So if I hear everybody correctly, we're going to wait and see what it looks like near the end of April, and then have a hard look at it and see if we have any recommendations. And maybe if I can ask some of you also to keep in mind, if there was going to be recommendations, what would be realistic that we could do? The other thing I wanted to mention, the other one I had on here was the one extending the usage of the lower hydro rates. So then they went to, you didn't have to do prime time hydro, you calls all day long is prime time type thing. But it's only for 45 days. We're coming near the end of those 45 days that discount happens. And this is on page 176 in our package. It's from the town of Grimsby. And they're requesting that the government keep the lower rates of electricity. I'm sorry, I meant electricity, until COVID-19 outbreak is done, till it's contained. So is that something we would consider supporting? Councillor Roman.
I guess we would support that. I mean, electricity rates are only one small part of it. I don't think we're really doing a whole lot by changing electricity rates. Nothing else is coming down, so it's just a small drop in the bucket, you know.
Yeah, Councillor Gillespie.
I would support it because, you know, people are staying at home using a lot more electricity. So I think it's a benefit, maybe a small benefit, as Councillor Rowland said, but it is a benefit nevertheless.
Councillor McCreary.
I would support it.
Councillor Rossner.
Yeah, I absolutely, because I feel that people are home. They have to, you know, self-isolate or whatever, and they're forced to be at home. They're going to be using power that they normally would not, because as I said, everyone's forced to be home. So yeah, I would.
Okay, so we're going to probably do a similar thing. Could I have a mover and a seconder for putting forward the resolution that will go to the other municipalities?
I'll move it.
Councillor Rossner.
I'll
Councillor
second.
Gillespie. Moved by Councillor Rossner and seconded by Councillor Gillespie. And Ashley, you will be copying the Grimsby resolution on page 176.
Yep, and
And
you
do
would
you
like
want to
it-
ask for a vote on that for now?
and who did you want the resolution forwarded to? You said,
All the municipalities, same as Grimsby did.
okay. So if it's moved by Councillor Ossner, seconded by Councillor Gillespie, Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Rowland, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Ossner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor McCreary, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Counselor Gillespie.
Yes.
Right, that motion has been carried.
So the motion for the passing of the correspondence, besides the Halliburton and Grimsby one, all the rest are passed. Is that not correct?
Yes, I can pull those two out, so it would be approved as presented for the remaining pieces of correspondence.
Okay, and the mover I have for that is Counselor Gillespie and Counselor Rowland.
Good. And so Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes,
Counselor Rowland,
Yes.
Counselor Ossner,
Yes.
Counselor McCreary,
Yes.
and Counselor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, that has been carried.
thank you. Next, we have the minutes of the various committees, and I have that moved by Counselor Rowland and seconded by Counselor Gillespie.
Okay, that the following items be received. The Region of Waterloo minutes dated February 19th, 2020. The Grand River Conservation Authority minutes dated January 24th, 2020. And Grand River Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes dated January 24th, 2020. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes,
Counselor Rowland,
Yes.
Counselor Ossner,
Yes.
Counselor McCreary,
Yes.
and Counselor Gillespie.
Yes.
Right, that motion's been carried.
all right. And next we have first and second reading of the bylaw, which is moved by Counselor Ossner and seconded by Counselor McCreary.
Yes, so that the following bylaws be taken as read a first and second time. Bylaw 3147-20 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a pre-servicing agreement between the Township of North Dumfries, Hallman Construction, and Brian Dome Farms. Bylaw 3156-20 being a bylaw to estimate all the sums required during the year and to fix the tax rates and provide for the levy and collection of municipal, region, and education taxes for the year 2020. And bylaw 3157-20 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a pre-servicing agreement between the Township of North Dumfries and 2081788 Ontario Incorporated. So Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes,
Counselor Rowland,
Yes.
Counselor Ossner,
Yes.
Counselor McCreary,
Yes.
and Counselor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, that has been carried.
and now we have moved by Counselor Gillespie and seconded by Counselor Rowland, the first, second, and third reading of the bylaws.
Sorry, that was moved by, you said Counselor Gillespie and seconded by
Counselor Rowland.
Woman, okay. That the following bylaws be taken as read a third time and finally passed. Bylaw 3147-20 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a pre-servicing agreement between the Township of North Dumfries, Hallman Construction Limited, and Brian Dome Farms Incorporated. Bylaw 3156-20 being a bylaw to estimate all the sums required during the year and to fix the tax rates and provide for the levy and collection of municipal, region, and education taxes for the year 2020. And bylaw 3157-20 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a pre-servicing agreement between the Township of North Dumfries and 2081788 Ontario Incorporated. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes,
Counselor Rowland,
Yes.
Counselor Ossner,
Yes.
Counselor McCreary,
Yes.
and Counselor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, that has been carried.
now before we close off the meeting, we have this third question from the Air News, or Irene Adney. Business continuity staff reaching out to various community groups. Would CEO McNeely, would you like to speak on the grants? Oh, I can do it. So with the grants going out to the basic groups, we will be contacting the groups and where the money is still needed, it will go forward, and where it is no longer necessary, we will not be giving out those grants. We'll defer it till possibly another year, or we'll go roll back in to our coffers. Any other comments?
Just a quick comment.
course.
So some of the grants were actually waiving of fees. So those ones, if the activity is not going ahead, then that money will just be held. Some of the other grants, they were applications for projects. So we'll be reviewing each of the projects to see if they are going ahead.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, and we will do the confirmatory bylaw of the committee of the whole, first, second, and third reading. And this is moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Bowerman.
That bylaw number 3158-20, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council on April 14th, 2020, be read a first, second, third time, and be finally passed, signed, and sealed by the mayor and the clerk. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, that has been carried.
Thank you. And now moved by Councillor Roman and seconded by Councillor Gillespie, the ending of the committee of the whole meeting. So do you want to read that one?
So, moved by Councillor Rollman, seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that whereby business before this council meeting has been completed at 6:51 PM. And be it resolved that this meeting adjourns and meets again on Monday, April 27th, 2020. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
All right, that has been carried.
Thank you. And thank you, guys. Just a quick update. I had some information today. The region is not doing water testing. So that means in rural areas, a lot of the people have been looking to get water and buy water, and there's no water to be bought. It's sold out on the shelves, and they're wondering what they're going to do. I contacted the region, and Chief Shantz will be working with Michelle Passant to get out the information to the public that the rural areas, they're recommending they boil it. They get these tablets for purification if they can find them. Chief Shantz, if you'd like to pipe in here, go ahead. Your mic's off.
Yes, I had a CMC meeting late this afternoon, and that this has been kicked up to public health through the CMC group. And they're saying that this is to be considered an essential service, and that that the testing still should be taking place. So
Excellent.
it's gone to public health, or it will be going to public health, and so I should be hearing back on something for that tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chief Shantz. That's good news. Because there's several farm areas were concerned about their water. They don't want to drink it because it hasn't been tested. They don't know if it's good water or not. Councillor Gillespie.
Is that like referring to well testing or what?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Any other comments, anything else out there you want to touch base on?
Oh, Mayor Foxton, I just wanted to note, so under item 22 of the agenda for questions from the media, we did receive some feedback from Irene with the Air News. So she has asked, as this is a committee of the whole, when is the next regular council meeting to approve recommendations made during committee of the whole? So I can respond to that, that the recommendations from today's meeting were approved at today's meeting by council. So that has been approved. She also asked, will there be a reconsideration of any of the community grants, knowing that some events activities will be canceled? And she's also asked, will a financial report come to council regarding the financial impacts on the township due to COVID-19?
Yes, so we know the financial report. We've already said that during the minutes was April 27th. And we also said the grants will be looked at case by case situation and will be dealt with accordingly. So if they're not proceeding, the funds will stay within the township. And if they are, or whatever degree, we will readdress them that way.
Okay.
So we've covered both of those.
Yep, that was both. That was just, I'm just noting what was received by the
Thank
meeting.
you. Anything else, folks? Okay, thank you very much and have a safe night.
All right.